Hello everyone, welcome to one more video. I am so happy to see you here. I hope you're doing well and feeling inspired. Today I want to share with you some information that can change your life. And I am talking about the orders of love and how they impact your life. Now, the orders of love are a concept developed by Bert Hellinger, who was a therapist, philosopher, and also the creator of the Family Constellation. And Family Constellations, it is a therapeutic method that help to review the hidden dynamics in a family system, right? And resolve entanglements that causes suffering for everybody in the family. Now, Bert Hellinger observed through his field work that there are laws or invisible principles that organize the flow of love in all human systems, especially in families, right? Because a family is a system. So when these laws or principles they are respected, love can flow with ease and the system can achieve great harmony and people are happier and healthier. However, when these laws are not followed, the system experiences disorders, conflict, and the repetition of difficult fates from people from the past, right? Our ancestors. So Hellinger observed there are three basic principles that organize and govern family systems. He called these principles the orders of love because by understanding these principles and applying them in our lives, we facilitate the flow of love, right? In our personal life, in our relationships to other people in the family, and in the whole system itself. By the way, are you enjoying this content? If you are, please remember to like and subscribe. You can help me to grow this channel and so more people can have access to this content. Thank you so much for your help. I appreciate that. So let's look at the orders of love. The first order of love is belonging, and this order states that all members of a system have the right to belong to the system, and nobody can be excluded, right? And especially those members of the family, those family members who committed some crimes or they are sick or impaired, those who died young and the rejected ones, right? For instance. So we are speaking here of the family members that we do not like much, right? Someone who offended or hurt us, or people who died already, right? Because dead people also belong to the system. Even after death, this person, this ancestor belongs still to the system, right? And we have to remember them. Or for instance, a person who was rejected and excluded from the family, such as people with mental or physical disability, people who were hidden somehow because of any kind of shame that they brought into the family and any other type of problem. So all these people, they belong to the system. Now, for example, let's suppose we have a grandfather who abandoned his wife and his children and disappeared into the world, right? So this grandfather gets excluded from the family by the next generations, right? What happens is that his children, his grandchildren or great grandchildren, they curse him for what he did in the past, right? And they refuse to include this grandfather in the family history. So, he becomes one of that people that nobody wants to talk about, right? It becomes a taboo in the family. I don't talk about that grandfather. He abandoned grandmother. Everything was horrible after what he did. So people don't talk about him anymore. So also because the situation was so traumatic that people don't want to deal with that. They wanted to forget about. So when we forget about it, when we don't talk about it, that's considered an exclusion, right? So this attitude of exclusion violates this very first principle of belonging. Because this grandfather, despite of his wrongdoings against his wife and children, he belongs still to the system. And if people deny him this right to belong by pushing him away, by forgetting about him and everything, this will bring a great imbalance in the system. And sometimes, for instance, younger members of this family can represent the excluded person unconsciously, of course, or to repeat the fate of the same person. So, for instance, in the case of this grandfather, sometimes it happens that a grandchild becomes very entangled, very attached to this grandfather, unconsciously, of course, right? So, how can we live in harmony with the principles of belonging? Well, we can accept that all members of our family belong equally, and that includes those who had a difficult story, a difficult fate, right? So, by changing our inner attitude, we change our lives, and also we impact our system, our family system, in a very positive way. Now, the second order of love is hierarchy. So, the person who arrives first has precedence over those who arrive later. For example, the parents, they arrived before the children, right? So the precedence is over the parents. So the firstborn arrived before the second child, and then the second child were born before the third child, right? So whoever arrived first has precedence in the system. So, for example, sometimes a child wants to save their parents unconsciously, of course, by assuming responsibilities that are not theirs to assume, right? So, this inversion of the order causes conflicts between parents and children, because children are not supposed to be taking care of the parents, to be resolving the parents' problems and traumas and entanglements, right? So during a constellation session, we can look at these unconscious dynamics and give people the opportunity to heal this pattern, so that this child goes back into being a child, and her place in the family is being a child, and the parent can also go back into being a parent, right? So parents are parents and children are children. They have two different places in this family. So the third order of love is balance between give and take. And this order regulates the relationships between the spouses and the parents and children, right? So there must be a balance between giving and taking in all relationships. So regarding parents and children, parents always give and children always receive, right? Until the children grow up, and then of course they will become adults and they will become givers themselves, right? They can either become parents themselves, or they can, if they don't have children, they can have projects, life projects, because those are like little children for us, like the projects we have. So with the couples, work is differently, right? Because couples, they are equals. They arrive together at the same time in this relationship, so they are equals. So both partners, they give and receive. And the imbalance happens when one of the spouses give more than they receive, or one of them has difficulty giving or receiving. So a constellation session can show if there is imbalance between giving and taking, and help this balance to return to the system. Now, according to Hellinger, love needs order to grow. So when love is out of order, it can disorganize and bring strife to the whole family system. So the orders of love, they work as a principle that support love and harmony in the relationships. in family systems. So when these orders are respected, love can flow in a very constructive and positive way. And when these orders they are not respected, the system tries to compensate, generating repetition and suffering until the balance is reestablished in the system. And those are the orders of love. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and leave me a comment below if this subject interests you. And thank you so much, and until the next one.